and Bible. It says the same thing in more modern expression. From Psalm 37, verse 5. Commit everything you do to the Lord. Trust Him to help you do it, and He will. Now, if you believe that, you've got it made. And again, from the 27th Psalm, verse 14. Don't be disturbed. Wait for the Lord, and He will come and save you. Be brave, stout-hearted, and courageous. Yes, wait, and He will help you. You believe that, and you're in. And finally, from 2 Corinthians 12:9. I am with you. That is all you need. My power shows up best in weak people, which is quite interesting. Weak people means people who know that they can't handle it themselves, and they turn to Him, and He's with them, and that's all you need. So, don't overreact to trouble. Now, some people do. I have on many occasions. You say, how in the world can you be all that calm when a trouble strikes you? Well, I know that is difficult. So what do? You get all emotional. You wake up in the middle of the night. You can't sleep. Your mouth is dry. You have a sinking feeling in the pit of the stomach. You're terrified. You turn on the light to shut off the darkness. And you feel very, very upset. Well, then you see, you're supposed then to act like a little child with your Heavenly Father. What would your little child do if he or she awakened in the middle of the night and was afraid? He or she would... Why is it you always have to have this he or she business? Let's make it he. I'm of the old school, if you don't mind. He would throw his arms around you, and he would tell you how he felt, wouldn't he? Yes, he would. And you'd kiss him and hug him, and you'd say, now, honey, Mommy's here. And don't you be afraid. I'm going to put you back into bed. And I'm going to sit here till you go to sleep. Nothing's going to bother you. And great Heavenly Father's looking down on you, and He's giving you His angels to watch over you, and you just go to sleep. And the little one would go to sleep, the trouble having passed. Now, I know this sounds infantile, and I'm talking to adults. But even though you're an adult, when trouble comes, you are still a child in the sight of God. And the relationship that you had with a loving parent can be the same relationship that you have with a loving God. You just tell Him all about it. Let it all go. And when you've told Him all about it, then give thanks and say, let go and let God. And in that manner, you will not be overreacting to trouble. It's a common sense matter in your relationship with the Heavenly Father. Faith is a rational process of mind. So the more rational, the more intellectual, the more solidly mental you are in handling a trouble, the better the trouble will be handled. Now, I had a telephone call from a man who lives in the Midwest, and I've known him a long time. In fact, we're old friends. He called me, had my number, and he called me out of a sound sleep. And I looked at my watch, and it said 10 minutes after 3. And I said to myself, who in the world would call me at 10 minutes after 3? And my wife woke up, and I said, who do you suppose is calling us at 10 minutes after 3? Meanwhile, the phone continued to ring. And she said, why don't you answer it and find out? Well, I said, only a fool would call you at 10 minutes after 3. Well, she said, answer it and talk to the fool. So I answered the phone, and the man said to me, that's you, Norman? I said, yes. He said, how are you? I said, terrible. You know what time it is? Oh, he said, where I am, it's, I think he said 10 minutes after 1. I said, that's late even where you are. Oh, he said, I'm awful sorry. You want me to hang up? I said, no, now that you called, tell me what's on your mind. He said, well, to put it bluntly, the end has come. I am licked. I am washed up. I am completely defeated. Everything is gone. Everything is a failure. I've lost everything. And then he began to sob. And I said, when did your wife leave you? He said, what do you mean? I didn't say anything about my wife. She's right here. I said, she haven't left you yet? And he said, no. Well, I said, you just told me you'd lost everything. I said, when did the sheriff attach your house? He said, ain't no sheriff attach my house. I've got my house all right. I said, well, when did the finance people come for your car? Oh, he said, what are you talking about? Well, I said, you told me you had lost everything. He says, you know, the trouble with you is you're too sensible. I said, well, you told me you'd lost everything. So I said, listen, Joe, get out a piece of paper after you finish talking to me and draw a line down the middle, and on one side put things I've lost, and on the other side put things I haven't lost. And then call me up tomorrow and read me the list. By this time he was quite calm. In fact, he's an intellectual. He is a professor, no less, in a university. He said, I get your point of view. Well, I said, isn't that nice? Now, you have lost something, I'll grant you, and I am not minimizing it, and I'm taking it seriously, but you are hysterical when you tell me you've lost everything. Why, I said, speak to me again. He said, why? I said, I want to see if you can talk. You can talk? I said, did you hear what I said? He said, yes, I heard it. I said, then you can hear. And I said, did you walk to the phone? He said, yes, I walked to the phone. Well, I said, then let's add them up. Wife hasn't left him. House hasn't been attached. Car hasn't been reclaimed by the finance people. Can hear, can walk, can talk. I said, there's 6 right there. And he said, I get you. I said, that's fine. Go back to sleep. And I went back to sleep. But I got to thinking how we get a distorted view of what is really the trouble. We blow it up out of all proportion to its size. So, by not overreacting to trouble, you're using that marvelous thing called rational